Hey, so glad you're here. Listen, we're wrapping things up this lovely Friday morning on our Perspective series. We've been talking about Job and his friends and God, and just what a great book Job is. If you haven't read it, man, I would encourage you, get in there, read it, enjoy the interaction of people. But just two quick perspectives I want to wrap things up with. First, your perspective on your future. You know, one of the things Job was challenged with is that he was living in that moment. One of the things his friends were consumed with was why everything was happening at that moment. And none of them, it seemed, could see beyond that moment. And they just thought that this season that Job is in was the totality of what his life would be. You know, oftentimes people get hopeless, people get depressed, people get shut down because they think this moment of life is the end of their life, or this moment of the life is the way it will always be. Listen, one of the things I have definitely learned about life and about God and about His plans for our life is that they're seasonal, is that there is a beginning and there is an end. He's created this idea of time, and it's not just one long timeline, but in each of our lives there are timelines of seasons. And so I want to encourage you, look at your life in seasons. Understand that there are different seasons to your life, and the moment you're living in now, whether it's the most awesome moment of your existence or whether it's the worst moment since you've been alive, neither of them are eternal. This is but a season. So your perspective on understanding gives you a lot more patience, gives you a lot more grace towards others. Your perspective on knowing this season is here helps keep your ego down. A perspective on season helps give you a sense of optimism because you know, whether good or bad, things are going to change. And really, it's just so helpful to understand and have that perspective so nothing rattles you too much, because sometimes people just get locked in a moment and they think this is all it will ever be, and it's not. Things will change. Things do change. By your effort or by the will of God or by life itself and the earth rotating, things will change. The second thing is the perspective on God. You know, God is just fantastic, and you get a full picture of who He is through the Bible. But one of the things I like about Job so well is he's got these three friends, and they're being very Pharisee-like. They've got black, white, this is the way He is. If this is happening in your life, this is because God is like this, like this, like that. And they're very checklist-oriented, and God, not God. And one of the things I like about when God comes on the scene, and He's just so fun, is that He says, boys, you didn't have it right. You didn't represent me in an accurate light. Because God Himself is a God of personality, God of character, and a God that's not just black and white. He Himself, like you and I, have shades of gray. If you'll read throughout the Bible, you'll see a personality and a character and motives that are pure in intention and have good intentions or right intentions, but sometimes things don't turn out even like God, the creator of the universe, wants. And so your perspective on God is critical to you understanding how to work with Him, relate to Him. You know, the New Testament is great. Jesus said, man, I came to reveal who the Father is, because a lot of people couldn't see the goodness, the graciousness, the generosity of God in the Old Testament. Once you start looking at the Old Testament through New Testament eyes, you can see time and time again God's graciousness even under the Old Covenant. And so how do you see God? What is your perspective on God? Of course, the Bible is the best way to fine-tune those eyes and get an accurate perspective, but it also goes back to how you see yourself. Two people can read the same piece of Scripture, and one it encourage and strengthen and motivate. The other, they feel guilty and shame-filled and all that because of how they see God through their own filter. So we go right back to what we started with at the beginning of the week. How do you see yourself? What is the perspective on you? Because that's going to alter it all. So listen, it's a season. God is fantastic, loves you, and is always for you, and hopefully you see yourself as being everything God designed you to be. God bless you. Have a great weekend.